I have no shame in answering this question. So I can't recall. This riff is not a new riff. You know, Joel's had this in the bag for probably years and years and years. And he said before, like, there's been riffs that like we did in like 2003. You know, like Loose Lips Sink Ships is from 2003. And like my bandmates we're all pretty succinct, but like I'm not gonna lie, like Melvin's, Mastodon, and Weezer for me specifically. And there was certain parts of certain songs that were my favorite parts of those songs, and there was never a time or space for me to borrow some of those parts until this song presented itself. And as soon as it started, you know, to form, I just knew exactly, like, ooh, I'm borrowing this from Weezer, and I'm borrowing this from Melvin's, from Mastodon, and like those three, well, Mastodon, Melvin's, Weezer, yeah, those three for me in particular are like where my parts are directly inspired by. So for this song, I used my CNC kit. It's a maple kit. It's maple and gum. It's 7-ply. It's the round bearing edge is a very warm, sounding drum set. And traditionally, like CNC, like they don't. A lot of the artists that they endorse, like I'm one of the only artists that like plays like metal or heavy rock. We're not talking about like My Morning Jacket and Mumford and Sons and a number of the other guys that play CNC. So it's kind of like contradictory to play hard rock or heavy rock or metal on this type of kit. You would think I'd be playing a Tama or a particular kit known for endorsing artists who play our style of music. But this is a very warm song. I love this kit, and I switched up my configuration a little bit, but essentially just put new heads on and hit them as hard as I could. Yeah, specifically, I went with K's. Yeah, the ride symbol is a K. Crash is a K. The secondary crash is a Constantinople, and then the third crash is a A custom. It's a little brighter, so for more attack. I like to finish a lot of fills on, go over the bar and into the one. But I also like, a crash on the one, and then crash on the two, so you want to have a brighter crash with the A custom if you're going to crash on the snare hit. I would say the bridge section is super syncopated. It's really busy, like I do a lot of work on the bell of the ride. It's a glorified paradiddle, but like I get to play and flirt a lot with this motion, and then I throw in these hiccups with the hi-hat, or I throw it in there, and but it locks in with the bass part and the guitar part. And sometimes when there's a really obvious guitar riff that's busy and Mark's bass part, he just decides to match or mirror that, then like I get to just write a pattern that's the same pattern with it. And then generally that means I get to be really busy and do a lot of fills. Yeah, I did at first with, we were having trouble figuring out what the chorus was. And when Joel, which is not usual of Joel, and like it's almost unfair to say that because you look at Imposter Syndrome, it's such a straight ahead, 4/4 song. But the guitar part was so simple, just that I can't ghost notes, syncopation, paradiddles wouldn't translate there. So I had to write a part that was really simple and straight ahead, and that's where I drew some influence from Pat with Weezer on that. And that was definitely, once I made the connection of what I should play, tapping into inspiration from like my idols, then it got easy. But it's easier for me to play busier and more technical things than it is to play simple and slower BPMs, as odd as that may sound. I'll speak on a couple of specific examples. Mastodon covered the Melvins track called The Bit, and both are amazing. Mastodon's is a little faster in tempo, and that song, The Bit, specifically was where my inspiration came from the verse and the chorus, Holiday by Weezer was really apparent there for me. And then the bridge, which is Busy, is just a combination of all my influences and just kind of letting my freak flag, fly a little bit there. So this is the demo, my part from the demo process to the final recording. This is the first time I ever did this. So when we track demos and we do pre-production, like we mic everything, we mic everything. And like our intention with demos and pre-production is to create, a product that sounds good enough that when we listen back to it, we get inspired by it to want to keep working on it. And something I didn't tell my bandmates was the demo process. Generally, I'm still figuring out, and I'm using the demo process to figure out my parts, but I had actually figured out and written my parts already. So I had mic'd the drums and everything with the full intention of I might not have to retrack, drums for the final recording. So I treated the demo process for the first time like it was the final process. So I went all in on the demo process, which it worked because like I prepared and the parts turned out well, but then it saved me a bunch of time and the band time. I didn't have to retrack my parts, so we could spend more time. I had more bandwidth to focus on their parts in their recordings. Definitely what I hope that listeners pick up on, consciously or subconsciously, I hope they can hear chemistry, like this band has a ton of chemistry. Joel and I have been playing together since, we were 6 years old. Mark, when we got with Mark in 2012, 2013, he fit in seamlessly, with us. Like you would have thought that he had the same blood, same DNA, like that's how natural it was. And, we've been on a bit of a hiatus for, 4 or 5 years now. And like, I hope the one thing that listeners, take away from this is just like a seamless chemistry. Something that was really important to me was I wanted this particular song not to feel, this movement. I wanted to create movement that was left to right, and like when you listen to this song, there are parts that you can go like this, but the whole song, you can take your girlfriend to the show and this song, she'll be drinking and doing this. And then when the chorus hits, the boyfriend will be going like this. It's not just this movement or this movement. It's trying to figure out a way to balance left to right, up and down, which also in terms of attack, when you look at the wave file, snare drum crack is just, how do I create sounds and use my drums and hit the drum in a way that it's a rounder sound, rounder meaning left to right and not doing this the whole time. That was it. My role on this project, trying something new, was trying to create sounds and parts that made me want to sway left to right and not forwards. 6/8, syncopation, this stuff, like I'm great at it, but like, can I make something that I'm going left to right and swaying to and doing that? And my part on this song was the first time I ever made a really conscious effort, to make a swaying, soothing, rounder, something that you can dance and drink to. Take your girlfriend to the show and she's not going to be standing there with her arms crossed like, what is this shit? Looking back now on my part in terms of like, did I achieve, what I expected to do? Yeah, I did. Because I listened, to the master and it's there. When me and my wife listen to the song, she's doing this, I'm doing this, we're moving, we're dancing. Sometimes we're sober, sometimes we have a drink in our hand and we're cheersing. It doesn't alienate people that don't listen to hard rock or metal. But for our traditional fans who are used to heavier stuff, it doesn't alienate them with them feeling like this is too soft. It combines both worlds. And as I get older and I spend more time with my awesome wife, I want to do things that we both can get into. And this is a song that is our favorite since we've been married to listen back to.